You know, this is one of the Eagles' worst losses in a long time.
At the last 2 weeks, they've been absolutely boat raced.
Cowboys knocked out the Eagles.
I know all the Eagles fans out there are feeling pretty bad after the past 2 weeks, but in today's video, I'm going to bring in some positivity and try to show you all why there's still hope for this season and why the Eagles can still easily win the Super Bowl. To start things off, the Eagles are 10-3. They're 10-3. They're not 3-10. The way I've heard everybody talking about the Eagles, you would think they're doing terrible, the coach is going to get fired, the quarterback's going to get fired, and all of that. But no, they have still been very good. They had, going into the season, what we knew was going to be an extremely difficult stretch on their schedule. The Eagles have currently went 4-2 through that, and they are favored against the Seahawks. Going into the season, if you told anybody that the Eagles were going to beat the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Bills all in a row, I think they could have dealt with a loss to the 49ers and a loss to the Cowboys. Yes, I know they were both blowouts, but watching the game, I feel like if just 2 or 3 things go differently, the game would be completely different. For example, against the Cowboys, if they just didn't fumble, 2 of those 3 times, completely different game. Yes, I know, Cowboys won by 20 points. But the entire situation of the game would have been different without those fumbles and if you replace those with points, which I think most of the drives were leading to points, at minimum field goals. So, 9 more points, different ball game. Then in the 49ers game, if instead of 2 field goals in the first quarter, if the Eagles scored 2 touchdowns or even 1 touchdown in a field goal, the 49ers would have had to play it differently, and who knows what could have happened. So just those small things changing, and it's either a much closer game or potentially the Eagles could have even won it. So back to what I was saying, the Eagles had a super hard stretch, but the Eagles have also had big rest disadvantages for most of this stretch, including the Cowboys and the 49ers playing on a Thursday night game the week before, so they got an extra 3 games off. Watching these games, you might think the 49ers were just faster than the Eagles, but it's also completely possible that they were just more well rested and the Eagles were just kind of tired. But for the rest of the season, this really won't be as much of an issue, partially because of the rest disadvantages going away for the most part, but also because we're playing much worse teams, so it shouldn't be as big of a deal. So part 1, we were playing tough teams, and we're 10-3. I think if the losses were more spread out, then we would all feel better, but we just like to pack them into just one really bad week, essentially, Sunday to Sunday. One really bad week for being an Eagles fan, and then we'll move on. The second bit of good news for Eagles fans is that, first off, they still control their destiny to the divisional winning the division. So if they win out and the Cowboys win out, the Eagles win the NFC East. It's huge. This means you get home games, and it would mean if they win out, they get at least the 2 seed. Now, it might sound tough to win out. It's not. We play Seahawks, Giants twice, Cardinals. Very easy. The Cowboys play at the Bills, at the Dolphins, at home versus the Lions, and at Washington. So, we all know Dallas plays worse on the road than they do at home. They're definitely going to lose some of these games. I think they're going to lose 2 of these games. So, but at least 1. So, I still think the Eagles have a huge advantage at getting at least the NFC East. Getting the 1 seed might be a bit tougher because the Eagles do not have the tiebreaker for this. So if they win out, the 49ers win out, the 49ers get the 1 seed. The 49ers schedule is tougher than the Eagles, and they do play the Ravens, which is really our main hope for them losing a game and securing that bye. But let's say things don't go well and the Eagles, fall apart and get the 2 seed. Okay, not that big of a deal. How it is right now is that the Eagles would play the Packers. And yes, the Packers are okay, but I'm not scared of the Packers at all. If the Eagles played the Packers at home in the playoffs, I would be very confident. This is the team that just beat the Chiefs and the Bills and the Dolphins and the Cowboys. 1-1, but still we beat them. So let's say they win that. Then they would play the Lions, who have been falling apart, but the Lions do have a pretty good hold on the 3 seed. So they would play the Lions next. And if it all went chalk, that would mean that the 49ers and the Cowboys would play each other. So this would mean that getting the 2 seed is how the Eagles could avoid having to play both the Cowboys and the 49ers, and they would just have to play one of the two. So while yes, I think we would all prefer to get the first round bye and just believe in the team at home against whoever they may play, if they get the 2 seed, I still think there's some decent upside there. The third reason for optimism is just this offense. They haven't played well the past 2 weeks. I know. And really the whole year they've been a little shaky. But you have Jalen Hurts, who was, the second favorite to win the MVP last week. I know he's fallen off, but just last week he was in second place. You have A.J. Brown, who just set a record this year for yards in a row. You know what I'm talking about. You have Smith, who has been excellent and would be a lot of teams' number 1 wide receiver. You have Swift, who I think they need to give the ball to more, and when he does get the ball, he has been electric. So he's another weapon. And then we just got Goddard back. So, and not to mention an offensive line full of Pro Bowlers and future Hall of Famers. And we have the tush push. So I think these last 2 weeks for the offense was a huge, unfortunate series of unfortunate events. That does not define the team. The rest of the year, which led to the Eagles averaging currently 26.3 points per game, is what defines the Eagles offense. And we're still 6th for offense, even after scoring 13 points and 19 points the past 2 weeks. I know the sky is falling, but we're not dead. We're still a good team. The offense can still easily turn into an elite offense. And then the defense is a little more concerning, but in this optimistic view, I'm going to keep it positive. So for the defense, if the backfield and the linebackers can get, just stay healthy, hopefully gel a bit. I know new linebackers coming in and out, I can't really say new safety with Byard, he's been there for a while. But if they can just gel together, hopefully Desai can figure something out and rely on this pass rush that is supposed to be amazing. So if they can hopefully just become mediocre again, you don't have to become good, but if they can become mediocre, this offense should carry them to victories. This defense was good earlier in this year. Not even talking about last year. Earlier this year, they were good. And there are several examples of this. The first quarter against the 49ers, they were dominant. The whole game against the Dolphins, they were dominant. They held the Rams to 14 points. There are several spots around this year where the defense was good. So there's no reason why it cannot get good again. And the biggest reason why I think this defense and offense for a little bit, but mainly this defense has fallen apart, has been what I mentioned earlier, this rest disadvantage. The team is just tired, but they will no longer have to deal with this. It's going to just standard NFL. Everyone gets a week off, and that's it. It's no more of this team gets 10 days off, this team gets 6. It has really hurt the Eagles the past few weeks, and it is my biggest factor for why the defense has fallen apart. I could be wrong, but trying to keep it optimistic. And then my final reason for optimism for this team is, as Eagles fans, we all want one thing. Our expectation is to win the Super Bowl. It's not like a dream for some teams. For this season, the expectation is to win the Super Bowl. They can still easily do this. Playoffs haven't even started. I don't care what people say. these games don't matter nearly as much. The Eagles have pretty much clinched the playoffs and, are well on their way. But the expectation is the Super Bowl. What matters is the playoffs. There are plenty of teams that have had super ugly losses in the year, even back-to-back. They then go on a hot streak, enter the playoffs hot, and take that all the way to the championship. These next 4 games really line up for the Eagles to get hot at the right time. I don't care who is considered the best team in the league in week 13 or 14 or any time in the regular season. What matters is who's playing the best at the end of the season. And the Eagles can easily still do that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe felt some positivity after listening to all the other Eagles commentators who have been very downtrodden. Hopefully, you start to believe in the team again. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for booing the team and everything, but I just thought us fans could use some positivity in our life. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you later, and comment something down below.